Jews in Israel and around the world are marking Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. This year, the holiday falls on the 20th anniversary of the signing of the Oslo Accords on the White House lawn. That ceremony was supposed to bring an era of peace between Israelis and Palestinians, but as John Wagi explains, the promises of land for peace have not materialized.
September 13, 1993 was hailed as an historic day when Israel and the Palestinians would begin to put their differences aside.
Enough of blood and tears. Enough!
The concept seemed simple enough. Israel would give up West Bank territories it won in the 1967 Six-Day War, while the Palestinians would recognize Israel and get their own state, and the two peoples could live side by side in peace and security. But a Palestinian Authority government mired in corruption had different ideas, and through the 90s, terrorist groups increased their campaign against Israelis. Also, just 2 years after the White House ceremony, Rabin was murdered by an Israeli gunman. The peace process moved forward anyway, and President Clinton almost brokered a deal at Camp David in which the Israelis would give up most of the West Bank and part of Jerusalem. But Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat rejected the U.S. brokered agreement, and the result was a second intifada and a wave of terror attacks, leading to more than 2,000 dead on both sides. Former Palestinian negotiator Ahmed Correa says Israel is at fault.
I blame the Israeli leaders for two reasons. One, they have the power. Second, they are the occupier. And they want the Palestinian, everything in their pocket, and they want to take more from the empty pocket of the Palestinians.
Under pressure from the West, the peace process continued, but the Bush administration departed from past U.S. policy and refused to deal with Arafat, seeing him as part of the problem rather than the solution. With Mahmoud Abbas in power after Arafat's death, the Israelis under Ariel Sharon pulled out of the Gaza Strip in 2005, uprooting more than 8,000 Jewish residents from their homes. They hoped it would lead to peace. Instead, it led to elections favoring the radical Hamas, an eventual Hamas dictatorship in Gaza, and thousands of rocket attacks on a growing number of Israeli cities. By this time, many Israelis had begun to realize that their concessions weren't leading to peace.
Enough with giving land, enough with concessions, enough with President Obama telling us, go back to the 67 lines. We will not do it. We will not get out from our homeland. We will build in Judea and Samaria.
This spring, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry tried to jumpstart talks between the Palestinian Authority and the Netanyahu government. But in September, as Israelis marked their holiest day of the year with signs of war all around them, the promise of Oslo seems like a distant memory. John Wagi, CBN News.